Welcome back to the next video on the CR90 Corvette build. I've made quite a bit of progress on adding detail, painting the base coat of AS20 to Maya. What I'm going to show you is how to add some of the detail parts onto the kit, and what I've done already. Basically, starting from the back, I've done a basic paint job. All these nozzles are painted black, and then I whacked it with the AS20 to give it a burnt look. What I'm using for this is Maya NATO Black TS63. You can use matte black if you want as well, or an airbrush. I just did this for I like the cans because it's a quick job, no setting up of airbrushes, etc. So that's the back. The last video I showed all the drilling of the holes to mount the engines onto the mount, or put the main engines onto their mounts. So they all are still on their mounts, screwed in, and the screws painted as well. Okay, which so now for me, I'm going to work with it in this position without taking it apart until I add lighting down the line. Then I unscrew it and drill the holes. So the next thing I will work, like I said, I'll work from back to front. So the piping, which are these little prints that you'll be receiving. Take very care of them that you don't break the little ribs off. Okay, and there's a specific way to install them. They don't need glue, so I've installed these ones, and it sits very tightly in there. There's no glue on it at all, and it's very tight. Okay, so what you want to do over there is you'll see these two little rib parts sticking out. Just out of interest sake, the lower piping area only has the fans. It doesn't have the intricate wiring. You see on the casting that it has these details. Okay, on the original model it's not there. So if you don't want them, you want to be more accurate, then sand them down on the lower ones only. But I'm leaving mine on because you don't really see the bottom that much. And then I glue these small little fan sections in. Okay, just sand them down slightly on the edge and glue them in. All the lower ones. Okay, I haven't done the top ones yet. The top ones are more intricate, wiring on it. These parts, be very careful when you take them off their build stalks. But they sand them down or slightly around the edges, and they go in as well onto the top only. I'm not going to go on video how to put all this in. All the little parts, it'll be more in the build document. Okay. So as for the ribs or rib piping, you'll see there's two pipes on the main casting. These two, and it sits very tight against them. So take a file with a rounded edge and just slightly sand down where that's. You can mark it if you want with a pen. I have an idea where they are. So make an indent that's round on each side. Okay, looks pretty good. Brush to brush it off. Then what you're going to do is, and this angle the camera down, what you're going to do over here is line up your piping. You can make sure it's flush on the back end. And watch out for the sides, that it actually sits very well with them, or else you can actually chip your printed part. So looking from the top, line it up. You can also look at the piping to make sure they're lined up in their holes, and then just push the back end down, sorry, the front end, push the back end, that sits flush. A beautiful fit. Okay. And there's no way that'll come out. You can use glue if you want to, but it's not necessary. Okay. A little bit of a gap on the side, you can use filler if you want. There it goes. Okay, so there you have a very tight fit. Okay. This is the top, so I'll be doing the piping afterwards. Okay. What I'm going to do, which I haven't actually done yet, is it'll be in the build document. There is two wires. that run in this section. There's little nibs sticking out on each side. Okay, you'll be getting the wire in the box. Okay, so I'll be saying the measurements, etc., in the build document. And then what I did after that, or before all this, because I've done this now, is I prepared and I put all the engine block detail on. Okay, there will be detailed drawing or renders, and there will be photos of the original model in the box document, reference images. So I've glued them all into the gaps after I've made sure this was smooth. Go over here as well. I'm trying to do it so that there's no reflection off, because this is all I've now painted in AS20, which is the same undercoat I used on the Falcon, the D'Agostini Falcon. Okay, so as you can see, I filled up the edges of most of them. Okay, so all this detail is on. Okay, make sure that the parts fit in before you glue them down, so you don't have anything touching. I had to sand back these lower bits, that little nub sticking out. Okay, and that fits very nicely into the main body. Which what I've done over here is I've fitted the side intakes. Okay, and the rear cylinders, this little detail in front, and the side detail bit, whatever it is. And then I've glued these rings in so that these docking rings actually sit. They're not glued in, they're loose. Okay, that goes in there. What I need to do still, which will be in the build document, is this section at the bottom. I'm not doing very well with the camera angle today, am I? There's an extra pipe that actually goes over the top of this pipe, and it actually sits in the air. So you're going to need to drill a small hole and then add that in. So I'll do that off camera, and then I'll put it in the build document. Okay, then I've painted the this rear detail piping section, which goes behind the antenna dish. Okay, try not to sand it down too much. I have, so it sits loose. You want it to sit in tight to close the screw hole. So I'm going to need to MacGyver something for this to sit tight in that area. Okay, as for the dish, this is a complete dish section that fits in nicely without needing any glue. And the bonus is all the little dish parts that go in here, they're all loose. They fit in tightly once you sand them slightly, and no glue required. So this whole section goes in, no glue needed. Okay. I'm going to move back again to the side engines. I've added all the detail onto them. So your left and right are different. Some kits out there make them the same, and it's wrong. It's two different sides. Okay, so I've glued in these blocks. There's only 4 of them. Okay, one on the top and the bottom, on the left and the right side. Okay, then I've glued in all these the flat panel bits, but not the rear ones. And the reason for that is these rear panel bits. So if I look left and left, they have green markings on them. They're painted green in some sections. So I'd rather glue this in afterwards. Once I've painted the green, it'll be easier than once this whole thing is in. It'll be a hell of a job to try and get the green in there. And then I'm going to glue this very, very lightly. Maybe 1 blob of glue. So when I want to do lighting down the line, I can just clip the glue off, and then drill the holes through into the the mount. I haven't tried it yet. I hope it works. I'm sure somebody will get there before I do. Okay, so as you can see in this, let me get my pointer. What I've done is a lot of pointers around here. I've glued these little. This is the left hand side. It gets the bow tie detail. It gets this printed part, which sits in the center in front of the intake. Then I've glued on the central pipe and the 2 cylinders. Now this all fits on one way only. So look at the images, but these pipes only fit in one way. Okay, and the cylinders. Okay, and then as I explained earlier on, I've done the lower fans. I haven't done the piping yet, I'll do that next. Okay, and then on the other one, same thing, piping, fans I mean, and then the right hand one gets the, looks like a block with some things sticking out. Okay, so it gets 3 of them, and then again a different piping system, and it only fits in this one, and then your intake. Now these piping things, especially on the left hand one, you're going to need to just do a bit of sanding on the back end to get it to fit in. And then what I've done is I've taken panel accent line, where is it? I think it's the Maya as well, somewhere on my table. I can't find it. Anyway, I've just filled in the little vent things. I think it's vents. Okay. So my next job is to do the central section. So I've got a bunch of stuff to add onto it, little greebles and things, or greeblies, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll do that and make a video as well, and then I'll get onto the head section. And then once that's done, all the undercoat will be, well, not undercoat, but the main paint will be down. And what I'm going to do on all the sections that are like red and green, etc., I'm going to paint hairspray underneath. The spray some into a cup and use a brush and just brush it on, and then I'll use acrylic over the top, and then I can, by putting water on it, you can actually scrub it away and make it look like weathering, which works very well. Okay, so that's it on this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, cheers.